Hey, welcome to Classic Performance. We're back at the American Dream SkyRanch. You might have seen us here before. We did a walk around of the Curtiss P40, which was just fantastic. We'll put a link in the description so you can look at that. But today's all about maintenance. We're here in the maintenance ops hangar at the American Dream SkyRanch, which is a full-service maintenance facility. And we've got a T-6 Texan behind us, a North American T-6 Texan. And we're going to let you know and let Tom tell us what is involved with an annual maintenance inspection. So let's get to work. Let's take a look at this T6, which is a part, and there's a lot to see here and a lot to learn. All right, let's just start at the front of the aircraft, work our way to the back, because there's a lot to see back there at the side panels. So where do we start here up front with the annual inspection?
Well, so the North American T-6 is a standard category aircraft. Obviously, it's known for its military service and its military record. But it's also a standard category aircraft with a type certificate, so an annual inspection is required. And if you operate for any compensation of any variety, you also need to do 100-hour inspections. As we know, Appendix D in Part 43 describes exactly how that inspection is supposed to be done, and that's what we abide by. But also, you have to have the maintenance manuals for the given aircraft. And these things are not necessarily the easiest things to find. Most maintenance shops don't have them, so it's a little bit unique. Also, in addition to the maintenance manual, you need to have the tech orders. And this is something that takes a little bit of research, and we'll get to some of that when we go to the back of the aircraft, and I'll show you a few things. The T-6 is equipped with a Pratt & Whitney R1340-AN1. The 1340 is, of course, the displacement in cubic inches. This is a 600 horsepower engine with a 10-to-1 blower on it, or supercharger, 36 inches, 2,250 RPM. It is one of the largest radial engines made that does not have a gear reduction. This is a direct drive engine. On the front, you'll see a Hamilton standard counterweighted propeller. It is a 12D40 with 6101 blades. The counterweighted propeller, if you take care of it, they'll last for about 1,000 hours. The engine lasts 12 to 1,500 hours in that neighborhood, depending how you treat it in between overhauls. They tend to be very good for cylinder changes and general maintenance. They're very reliable and simple aircraft or simple engines to maintain, although you have to have the right documentation to maintain these things. And it has some tricks, tips and tricks of the trades that obviously general aviation aircraft, the flat motors, vary quite a bit from these. The T-6 has a retractable landing gear, and we're fortunate that it just involves the main landing gear. It's a very simple design, relatively bulletproof, very hard to make it malfunction. It operates by gravity should you have a hydraulic failure of any variety. And it does not have a set of clamshell doors like you would have on the P-51. So it makes it relatively simple. It's very difficult to make this system malfunction. What the guys are working on here is an adjustment of the landing gear door, which is part of the retract test that we do every time we have a 100-hour. Being a military aircraft, it's got very good accessibility with the removal of side panels and cowlings in short order with very little effort. So everything's pretty accessible on the aircraft. It's also a very robust airframe. Things are built with that in mind. The systems are fairly simple, even though at first glance it's hard to tell what's what here. But once you get into it, it turns out that the aircraft makes a lot of sense from a maintenance standpoint. The R&Rs are relatively straightforward and simple in most regards. The wing attach angles have a reoccurring AD. That's the only recurring airframe AD on the airplane. They have to be NDI'd. You can do that either via fluorescent penetrant inspection, which is what we prefer, or an eddy current. And that's done every 200 hours, regardless of the maintenance status of the annual or 100 hours.
So this is where there's an actual attachment point between these two structures?
Correct. So we have it's a semi-monocoque construction. It's got a series of stringers through the skin. There's also a spar attach point with a series of bolts. So it's a pretty robust and sturdy construction. You might recognize this if you're familiar with the DC-3 or the C-47. It's actually the same engineer. I'm just going to put the flaps down so we can talk about something down there. Mm-hmm. So here's a perfect example of why a little bit of, if you will, tribal knowledge is important when it comes to warbirds. There were a series of accidents in World War II, what they thought were stall spins, but they ended up being the differential flap setting. And what happens is these U-joints inside the flaps, the pins would fall out of the U-joints and the outboard flap would not deflect. Apparently, the aileron's not enough to overcome it. So the Air Force came up with a tech order in 1946 to put these rubber hoses, just mil 6,000 hose, over the top of the U-joints to prevent the pins from falling out. There's never been an accident since. The problem with this is not an AD. This is a tech order. So if you don't know where to look for these things, it's a difficult thing for a general aviation mechanic. So this is a perfect example of what you really need to be familiar with the paperwork of the aircraft.
So in that situation, you've got one flap down or one flap up.
Correct.
And that's...
Well, two down and one up. There's a center flap also.
Okay, yeah. And that's just enough to roll that aircraft beyond what the ailerons will...
Yeah, it's 29 square feet of 45-degree flap. It's pretty powerful. The tailwheel is a relatively sensitive portion of this aircraft. This is an upgrade or a mod that came about at the end of World War II. It's called a G-style or P-51 style tailwheel, where it's steerable at 10 degrees in either direction with a 30 or 35-degree rudder deflection. Makes it fantastic to handle on the ground. But as an afterthought, there are a few sensitive spots in here that are problematic that we require in-depth inspection of on a regular basis. Because when you lose a tailwheel steering, you're in for a pretty exciting ride. It's not something you want to experience. In the interest of fast production in World War II, the horizontal and the elevator are the identical part left and right. You simply just flip it over. It's the same part number, in fact. And the way you can tell when you walk up to a T-6 whether or not the horizontal has been rebuilt is if you have spot welded or riveted stringers on the horizontal. Little tidbit of information. The outboard elevator hinges are sensitive spots. This is definitely something you don't want to have any kind of looseness or elasticity in, because what happens, it'll crack the outboard tip of the spar on the horizontal, and that's a major rebuild because you can't buy these anymore. You have to replace the spar. The rudder is an interesting design. It's got 3 hinge points like most control surfaces, but the bottom one is special. What you have is a fork coming out of the fuselage and a tongue coming out of the rudder. In that tongue, there's a pressed-in bearing. Well, if the weight of the entire rudder is on that pressed-in bearing, it can slip and ride metal to metal on the bottom hinge. This is a problem we've discovered 12 or 15 times over the years in customer airplanes, and it becomes a real problem because it rides metal to metal and break the hinge. So this is a pre-flight item that a lot of people are not familiar with. So again, a little bit of inside knowledge. The tailcone is also a semi-monocoque construction, and the way we access all the controls and everything that's inside the tailcone is through the L-hole. That's what we call this little port that the little guys get to crawl in and adjust all the cables and things of that nature in order to access all the systems that we have hidden in the tailcone. The wing consists of 3 pieces. There are the 2 outer wing panels, and then we have a center section. The center section bolts onto the tube frame, which is the core of the aircraft. Inside the center section, we have 2 metal tanks, 55 gallons on all the early model aircraft. On the G models, they also added a 15-gallon bladder in the wings that would extend the range a little bit. The way you access the tanks is through 2 large stress panels on the bottom of the aircraft. And sometimes we have to drop those to look at things inside, or perhaps tighten up the bolts that go to the tube frame and so on. When you take the stress panels off the bottom, you have to support the wingtips so the aircraft can't be moved at that time. So you got to really plan these things because they take a few days to get in and out of. So there are some maintenance operations that take a little extra time. All the control surfaces on the T-6, elevators, rudder, and the ailerons are all fabric. And this was done, of course, because of the metal shortage. And it's a simple and light, strong structure that is easy to repair. Many reasons for using fabric. It's beyond the tripping point of the turbulent airflow, so it doesn't really care to be perfectly smooth. It wouldn't do anything for performance. And it's also slightly more flutter resistance, which is handy. So it's not just all metal work. It is some fabric work as well. Possibly the most important maintenance item in T-6s more than anything else is corrosion. In 1950, they came out with an AD that requires the replacement of any structural part, like a forging, extrusion, or stamping. If you find any kind of intergranular corrosion, that's when it exfoliates like a cracker, then you have to replace the entire part. But this becomes a problem if you have a stringer inside the wing or a rib or something structurally inside the aircraft. So there's probably nothing more important than when you do a pre-buy on a T6 than to look for corrosion. We go through these structures with a fine tooth comb every single time we do an inspection. We don't want to have anything to do with corrosion in these things. It's a big deal, and we spend a lot of time looking for it and sometimes repairing it.
So that's a really quick 360-degree walk around of a T6 Texan and its annual inspection. Very comprehensive. I want to thank Thom for his time, and I always appreciate all his knowledge. This is a T6 shop, so if you're a T6 owner and need an annual inspection, engine change and maintenance, this might be the place for you to come. So Thom, thank you for your time, and that's going to do it for us here at American Dream SkyRanch in the beautiful upstate of South Carolina.